Welcome everybody to the Keys to Wisdom channel. We're going to continue on here working on our 5-letter name, squares. I think I've got the 3 squares I've come up with here all together. Alright, and we're going to be using Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, who they call the 3 patriarchs. Here in the final keys, I put them together. You see, we have a 1978 possibility type of key, just kicking back to the other squares that I have made, right? The glory, the light, and the crown square. But this is a little bit different setup. What I want you to notice here is that in the name Isaac, and then the next one is SARAI. That means born in Israel. And then the next thing is ABOBA. That's a different blood groups, right? The 4 different types. Type A, type B, type AB, and type O. In terms of blood groups, right? Then you apply the positive and negative to it. Abras could have some connotation into France, right? But SARAI is born in Israel. And you got Jacob, you got AB, O, again, all the blood types, right? In terms of Jacob. So we've got Isaac, all the blood types, born in Israel. Jacob, all the blood types, right? Then here on Abram, as you can see here, there's B, O, A, right? One of them is missing. Either we got A, B, A, and O, or we've got B, A, and O, right? One of the types is missing, and that's basically that was deduced because I was working on a timeline, and I'm going to show you. And when I got to Abram, was the last square that I made, right? That's how it fit the timeline. So what I'm going to do here, I'll start with Jacob. I had actually started first. I made the Isaac square. We'll go with Jacob, A, B, O, all the blood groups, C, A, C, O, B, A, B, O, C, A, J. So, a straightforward deal. We're looking at something like 1997 here, potentially, right? Tying into our Gregorian, Julian calendars for Jacob. All the blood groups, Jacob, east and west, Jacob, north and south, all the blood groups, north and south, east and west, right? In the center is A. That's what's going on there. We're going to go to Isaac. Isaac, SARAI, born in Israel. And all of our blood groups is going to be the central cross of Isaac. Arbas, perhaps a tie into France. And CAASI, Isaac. So now here, we could choose to say 1966 here. And that gap there would be 31 years from Isaac to Jacob, right? 1966, 31 years later, Jacob, 1997. And now we're going to go to the Abram. And we're going to put in our incomplete blood, right? We're missing one of the B types, either AB or regular B in there. Radar. That's possibly right. This is going to be the radar cross, so possibly this radar is Abram radar square is picking up something significant here. And Marba. So now, this is what got me to pull out the deal. That other B was to fit the timeline that I had already had going with Isaac and Jacob. So here would be 1937, Abram, 29 years. Abram, 29 years later. Isaac, 31 years later. Jacob. Through this way, right? And Jacob is straightforward, 1997. Abram done this way, straightforward, 1937. Isaac is the one that has the choice to see 1966, but this would be a potential timeline here in our time, in our calendar system, Gregorian Julian. So let's take out the A and put in the B, and then we got a 1573. So right, I had Abram, and the radar. Look at where that radar is. Well, I pull out the other part, right, 1938. Abram, radar cross, Abram, crown, right, 1938. Right, so when I originally saw that, I'm like, all right, so what's going to be produced when I put all these blood groups in there, right? So that one already has the 1B. And 1573. 1937. So, right, we all know there was an issue between Abram and SARAI naturally producing offspring, and God had to intervene into Abram and Sarai's lives, turn them into Abraham and Sarah to create Isaac. So potentially this could be a potential timeline into our timeline, and also the radar could be potentially showing us, right, that issue was with that other B type of blood, and that after the creation of Isaac comes into play, because God intervened there with Abraham and Sarah, and that now all of the modern four blood groups are together within Isaac, and then within Jacob, in those two squares, right? So that introduction going from A, B, O, A, in terms of Abram, to the A, B, O, B, A, right? A, B, and O, the four main types. It could be showing us the merging of that one that is missing in the Abram square. The blood type that Abram was not compatible with, right? Abram producing Ishmael, right? It could tie into the bloodlines of Ishmael versus the bloodlines of Isaac later. And of course, then if it does, then that would tie the Isaac bloodline into either a regular B or the AB, right? You can't tell which one is missing. But from Isaac on down, it would be showing us, if we're taking this stuff literally here, what's showing in the squares, it would be showing us either a B or an AB blood type involved with Isaac going on down. And then it would show it a continuation of the same deal with Jacob, AB, ABO, all of the blood types, OB, ABA, BOCAJ, 1997. So that's some possibilities and some stuff to think about in terms of these patriarchs and the blood, and also what the issue was between Abram and Sarai in terms of not being able to produce children together until God intervened. We could have possible answers right here in the stuff that we're doing. Another thing that I want to show is that at the level before the name change, just like Abram, we can do squares with Sarai. I got to work on those, but I also want you to look down through the past Jacob, right? Judah, we do the Judah square. David, we do the David square, same setup. Jesus, we can do the Jesus square. So I've got more work to do here on these different squares, but I feel like the stuff that I've shown here in terms of the three patriarchs, right, and producing something in a believable type of timeline, right? Abraham, right? It's not the timeline that this says the age when Abraham had Isaac, right? Or the timeline when it says Isaac had Jacob, right? But it's a could be a familial timeline, right? Where the grandfather was born in 1937 in our time. 29 years later, the father was born in 1966. 31 years later, the son was born in 1997, right? It's a realistic type of timeline in terms of generations in our time, right? So you could possibly interpret Abraham or Abram, born 1937, Isaac, born 1966, Jacob, born 1997, when we're looking at all of those together. together in terms of that timeline, right? And without removing that B, right, the timeline wouldn't sit up. So it's because of the way that I had built them that the radar, right, I had these numbers on my radar, right, to realize that B didn't belong there, along with, right, what was in my crosshairs, my radar was showing. And as soon as I pulled that out, boom, 1937, right? When it's just radar cross and Abraham crown, right? It's showing us 1938. So these are some potential significant things to ponder. And again, like I said, we can big time continue this on and do the different possible squares, right? And that's something else that we should also, look into, right? Is how this entire deal, Abraham 5 letters, Isaac 5 letters, Jacob 5 letters, Judah 5 letters, David 5 letters, Jesus 5 letters, and of course the SARAI 5 letters, where before the intervention that happened, Sarah also is, right, 5 letters after it's finished, that that makes the entire thing possible, the intervention of God into that immaculate conception of Isaac, right? And again, the showing that breath of life in the Judah line, right? Which would go on to produce David, and later on down the line, Jesus, right? So it's important for us to think about why everything here on this line is all 5-letter things, right? Of course, after they changed Jacob to Israel, it's not 5 letters, and Abram changed to Abraham, it's not 5 letters, but in their original name types they are, and Sarah remains 5 letters even after the change for the intervention of God in terms of the birth of Isaac. So this is something to possibly consider, right? Somebody could sit here and say, now, I was born in 1997, my father was born in 1966, and my grandfather was born in 1937, right? I guarantee there's people out there who could identify with this type of data that's being produced here, right? I don't have the awareness that those people have, right? I can just see that there's a timeline and a possibility. Somebody else, right, that was born in 1997, who had a father born in 1966, and has a grandfather born in 1937, that data would stick out bigger to them, and then they would know their exact dates that they were born in 1997, and their father was born in 1966, and their grandfather was born in 1937. And with their awareness in the Word, they could go in through what's shown here and go past it and look and see. There might be some significant things said about that exact date that they were born in 1907, and the exact date their father was born in 1966, and the exact date that their grandfather was born in 1937. But it takes the Word and their awareness. I don't have the awareness of the setup. I can see the possibilities within it, but without the awareness that the person that this data could relate exactly to, right, I wouldn't be able to flush it out and look through the Word and produce the things that they could produce, right? This Word is personal for all of us, right? And I was talking with Dan yesterday said, I kept asking the question, the phrase over and over and over, are you part of God's Word? Are you part of God's Word? I should have changed it at least one time to make it a statement and say, you are part of God's Word, right? Everybody is part of God's Word of some sort, right? And the personal experience with God's Word is different for everybody because they have different awarenesses and perspectives, right? I can't go into God's Word and work everything for each and every one of you because I don't have your awareness and your perspective of everything. It's your personal relationship within God's Word that will allow you to flush out the different things that my lack of awareness would not allow me to flush out as the Word pertains to you, right? And this is a good example of it here, right? This could be, and it is, right? There's father, there's grandfather, father, and son combinations born exactly to this time out there, right? Right. Somewhere there's somebody who has a grandfather born in 1937 and the father born in 1966, and they were born in 1997 on those exact things, right? And if they got into the Word, they could flush some of it out, right? And this here too, where it's just showing, I'm always showing the 1979 straight off, but this thing here too can be 1997, right? For the Jacob, right? This can be you can make that choice to be 1997. So this, are you part of God's, right here, right? Can apply right to this, right? But it's your personal stuff that is intimate, right? Between you and the Word, stuff that I don't have any idea of, right? I was also talking to Dan, saying there's also other ways to find different things out, right? There's super significant things that happen to you in your life, right? You can, if you know when they happen, what day they happen, they're super significant. Somebody passed on, somebody else was born, this and that. You put in and describe the events that happened on those significant days, and all of a sudden, boom, here pops up an exact date of when those significant events occurred in your life, right after you described it, right? And that's something that only you know what happened on that day. That's super significant stuff. But when you go through and you get intimate with the Word, you describe it, right, and the Word gets back intimate with you and says, here it is, boom, there's the date, that's where it happened, you just described it, right? It was all part of God's Word. It's all part of the plan that is unfolding, and also you being here, having an intimate relationship with God's Word and putting in the description of that experience, and now seeing the date, exact date that experience happened, is also, right? You're here seeing this and experiencing this because it was already written. It's already said that you were going to be here seeing and experiencing that and having an intimate relationship with God's Word. So this is a good example of some of that type of stuff using the three patriarchs, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. So with that being said, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you think that's something you should do. And have a nice day.